numbers. We're just reporting you, bringing you the numbers from one agency. Somebody else is bringing them from another. The Election Commission, unfortunately, is very, very slow. So while it will have the final formal word, Sunita Arun Govil is indeed trailing in the seat of Meerut in Western UP, according to our data. Sadanand, go ahead.
Barkha, just one thing.
Sorry, yeah.
Election, according to Election Commission, Prime Minister Modi is trailing by 6,000 votes right now.
I know. I saw that,
and
I saw that, and the reason we haven't mentioned it is because we know that the Election Commission is slow in counting, and I don't think anybody thinks Modi is going to lose Banaras. So, but the EC does, as you said, Varun, show the Prime Minister trailing in his own seat. But we haven't put that out there because EC is very, very behind sort of the counting of all other agencies. Sadanand, go ahead.
So just a couple of very quick points, right? The first is that compared to the elections in 2014 and 2019, at this time in the morning, it looks much muddier. In both those elections, by this time, we had a very clear sense that the BJP was romping to a victory. We were just a little bit unclear about what the size of that victory would be. So that's point number one. Point number two is that basically you have, two potential storylines. One is that if you if you look at sort of what you could be seeing is the NDA quickly racing to a slender majority and perhaps over the next few hours consolidating that into a larger majority. That's certainly one possibility. Yeah. The other possibility is the India alliance coming to some kind of either a shock upset or something very close to a shock upset. But what both those storylines have in common is that at this point of time, the opposition has done much, much better than most of us would have predicted.
Absolutely. I think it's safe to say that unless by the time counting is over, these margins widen in a dramatic sort of way. I don't know if that will happen. At the moment, the NDA has taken the lead again, a 20-seat lead ahead of the India Alliance. Karam Komiredi, I'm so sorry, you've been wanting to speak for a while. Do go ahead.
No, Barkha, I mean, if the early trends are anything to go by, one thing is for sure, most of the pollsters, most of the exit polls have got it horribly wrong. They predicted a rout for the India Alliance, and they've said that it's going to be a landslide for the NDA. One thing is for sure, there are around 64 crore votes that have to be counted, and it's going to take a while. But if the early trends are to go by, I think this is a neck and neck, and there is a possibility that the India Alliance may come to power, number one. And what is very interesting is that the Prime Minister himself is trailing in Varanasi, and Smriti Irani in Amethi is trailing. So if you go by the mood of the public, I think more or less people wanted a change. And the reason they wanted a change is because of this. The NDA, Prime Minister Modi, has been in power for over 10 years. But if you look at the ground reality, he hasn't been able to deliver on issues like unemployment, on issues like poverty. And all he had to do was, resort to Hindu-Muslim. And I've read a piece of yours in the Washington Post wherein you said that you've traveled extensively and the Ram Mandir was not being, taken into consideration by most of the voters. And what is very interesting, Barkha, is the results in UP. If you were to look at the last time, the BJP and its alliance, Apna Dal, won around 64 seats, and BSP won 10, SP won 5, and Congress was relegated to just 1 seat. Now, if the early trends are to go by, I think the India Alliance is doing exceptionally well in UP and across the country from north to south. The Congress and the Alliance is doing exceptionally well, and there is every likelihood that there could be a change of guard at the center and the Congress may come to power. But in any case, let me add a caveat. 64 crore votes to be counted. It's a long process. But if the early trends are to go by, one thing is for sure, most of the pollsters and the exit polls have got egg on their face.
Okay, this is probably a good moment. It's probably a good moment to play out what 5 or 7 major pundits predicted with their seat numbers. Are we anywhere close to that? I know it'll slow down our look at the numbers, but it's worth contextualizing the conversation we're having. The one thing we can agree on is that the numbers, whoever wins in the end, the numbers are at the moment very close. There is only a 20-odd seat gap between the two alliances. It's not at all the landslide that the pollsters projected. Neither is at the other end of the BJP slipping below majority, as Yogendra Yadav said. So I'm going to quickly play out for you a quick clip of what all of the major pundits said, and we'll come right back with updated numbers.
बीजेपी की 303 सीट थी last time.
They will improve their number.
So you don't even buy this theory कि वो 20-30 कम हो.
नहीं होंगे. They are improving their number.
Will Mr. Modi be the Prime Minister again?
उसमें मुझे कोई डाउट दिखता नहीं है.
NDA then comes to take 80 seats away. NDA is exactly 273, just at the majority mark.
BJP crossing 300 mark is a very tough task, very difficult. And BJP coming down below 250, 240 is also extremely unlikely.
The forecast is very straightforward and simple, and that is that somewhere between 330 to 350 seats is what the BJP can get on its own.
So you don't feel any political tectonic shifts?
Honestly speaking, I don't sense that, because अगर वो होता है बरखा तो टेक्टोनिक शिफ्ट आपको दिखता है.
Brand Modi is known largely as a delivery man, a man who resonates very well with the masses, a man who understands the pulse of common man, a man who works 24/7 or seen to be work 24/7 only for them, and not having family adding value to this. So these are the phenomena which people quite often ऐसा समझते हैं कि ये हमारे घर के मुखिया हैं.
So, yes, Karthik.
But I think one neglected portion of the country is the...
Hang on. Now we do know that the Congress candidate Kishori Lal Sharma at the moment is leading in Amethi. This is important news because there was so much debate over whether the Gandhis took a wrong decision in fielding him and not contesting themselves. We'll wait to see where the final result lands. But Kishori Lal Sharma is leading ahead of Smriti Irani of the BJP in Amethi in Uttar Pradesh. In Karnataka, however, the BJP is mirroring at the moment the exit poll direction, the leading in 22 seats to the Congress's 6. In Uttar Pradesh, the NDA has now fallen below the India Alliance. It's 39 to 35. The BSP, yet I know, Sunita, it is what to say. The numbers are changing so quickly. Smita Gupta is wanting to come in. Smita Gupta, do go ahead. Smita?
See, the one state that I do know a little bit about is Uttar Pradesh, because I traveled extensively this time from Muzaffarnagar to Mau. One thing was very clear to me, that the BJP would not be able to retain the number of seats that it had last time, because there was, people say that there was no akrosh, no anger. But it was for the first time that I heard, not extensively, but for the first time, there were actually people who criticized Narendra Modi, which I have not seen in 2014, 2019, 2022, where, he was always described in very glowing terms by people. Secondly, as you have also noted, the Ram Mandir didn't work. Unemployment, the Agniveer scheme, all these key things were top of the mind for people right across. So, but it was difficult actually to gauge how much they would lose. I mean, the final results will tell us, but I'm not surprised if this holds, because there was definitely anger. And I just to recall the 2004 election.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Because Telangana is also reversing the direction of the exit polls. The Congress is ahead of the BJP in Telangana. That is not what the exit polls projected. They projected major gains for the NDA, for the BJP in Telangana. Karthik, very briefly, because I was speaking.
We at Sea Voter did say that Congress and BJP both 6 to 9. So this is kind of there. But
7 to 9, but the Congress is clearly ahead right now, is all I'm saying.
That's correct. So 2 regions which I think I'll attract your attention towards: the Northeast, 25 seats, NDA 10, Congress, India 8. That is a very good performance, because last time there was a rout basically. I don't know how many seats are coming from Assam and how many are coming from states like Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram. But this is one place where the NDA is matching the India Alliance, or India is matching NDA. The second, which is big surprise for me, Barkha, is Chhattisgarh, where BJP 7, Congress 4, where the Congress was highly demoralized after the loss in the assembly election, with 4 leads. Even if they can get 2 to 3 seats in Chhattisgarh, I think that will be a very decent performance for the India Alliance. Delhi is still holding on to the trend now, 4-3. again, this is a big surprise. I mean, we didn't expect this to go 4-3. My best guess was 2-5, in the sense 2 for India, 5 for NDA. And even that, I thought that with the whole controversy surrounding the Aam Aadmi Party, that should probably go. This might still go down, but I'm just saying that being 4-3 at this hour, I think it seems to be that it's been a decent fight.
And the LDF is doing much better in Kerala once again than the exit polls had projected. It's leading in 6. The UDF is leading in 13. The NDA, yes, does seem to be at the moment leading in 1 seat. That is what the exit polls had projected for it. I'm seeing breaking news on my screen. The Sensex has dropped by 1,300 points. The markets are reacting to what they perceive is now an uncertain outcome. The NDA is still in the lead, but it isn't the kind of majority, at least not at 9:40 in the morning, that had been assumed. Karthik, I have to let other people speak, so let me just bring in the others. 265 for the NDA, ahead of 229 for the India Alliance, but a very interesting battle emerging in Uttar Pradesh, where the India Alliance is ahead. The India Alliance is ahead in Uttar Pradesh, leading in 42 seats to 35 of the NDA, and others in 1. Okay, I want to bring in Sandeep Ghosh. Sandeep, do go ahead. Is any of this coming as a big shock at the moment? Are you holding your comments till we know? Sandeep, you're muted at your end. Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Barkha, overall, I think we should still hold for a bit, but UP, as you are seeing, UP, I think, is, clearly I see 40-35. Even if it changes, it cannot change very dramatically. So the kind of, as Smita was saying, BJP retaining its earlier tally looks a tall task over there. At the moment, looks challenging. Varun was talking about Maharashtra. We really don't know what is this 18, etc. Over there. So overall numbers, I think we should probably hold on a little longer before commenting. Yeah. But some of these trends, as everybody has been pointing out, whether it's Chhattisgarh, whether it's Telangana, whether it's UP, I think these are worth noting, and certainly Delhi.
Yes. Yes, we are holding on. Mr. Annamalai, who ran a high voltage campaign in Tamil Nadu, is trailing in his own seat of Coimbatore. To be fair to Annamalai, he didn't make any big claims about seats. He said he was aiming for a 20% vote share, but he is trailing, and Mr. Owaisi is trailing as well, according to this slide, in Hyderabad. But once again, we've got to see how and where these seats land eventually. A lot of dramatic developments have taken place. If you've just joined us, let me summarize the big picture for you. The NDA is leading in 265 seats. The India Alliance is leading in 227. This is nothing at the moment like what the exit polls had projected. Rahul Gandhi had dismissed the exit polls as being Modi media's polls. The Congress, in fact, since last night had been talking about the possibility of demonstrations. Mallikarjun Kharge had written an open letter to bureaucrats to show spine and do their job at polling booths without fear or favor. If this pattern holds, the exit polls would have got it wrong. They would have got the direction right of who the victor is, because the NDA is still leading, but the understanding of how competitive the election is entirely wrong. But we will wait. We'll give it another couple of hours. We'll see where these numbers land. Different agencies are throwing up different numbers. The Election Commission is still slow. So we don't know. Sadanand, you wanted to come in, and then I'll come to Karam Komiredi. Yes.
So Barkha, at this point, it would be very interesting to know if you break it down, because I think the two things that are very interesting is how close is the BJP alone to 272? Because from what I'm sort of, if these numbers hold, the BJP alone may not get to 272, even though it looks like the NDA will cross 272. So that's an important number that we should take a look at. And the second number is how close is the Congress to 100? I think those are like two really important numbers, and that would kind of give us a sense of which way this mystery is going to unfold.
Karthik, can you shed any light for us? We, on the breakup of the numbers. I know the Election Commission is giving the breakup, but again, it's, very behind in pace of what the agencies are counting. But do we have any sense? Because Yogendra Yadav has argued we played all of those pundits, that the BJP by itself would fall below 270. Sanjay Kumar of CSDS said he felt the BJP cannot go below 250 and cannot go above 300. Right? I'm just adding context here.
Yeah, no, Barkha, it's tough to say right now, but all I can say is that in key Congress versus BJP states, the Congress seems to be denting the BJP a little bit here and there, like death by 100 cuts, for example. So Gujarat, for example, 4 leads, Chhattisgarh 3 leads, Delhi India Alliance 3 leads, Punjab Congress. So it's tough to say. Karnataka now Congress is at 10, right? So it is a possibility. Remember at the beginning of the show what I told you, there are 2 numbers to look out for. Can the Congress cross the 90 to 100 mark, and will the BJP cross 272? At this point, I think both those targets are being tested. That much I can say. But it's Sadanand, I don't think we have the numbers disaggregated by party right now from the agencies that we are getting the numbers from.
And the Election Commission is very behind the curve on that?
It is absolutely very behind, which is why we are not using that data source. I mean, even when I gave you the UP numbers where the Prime Minister was trailing at that point, it was because of the Election Commission's sort of, slow pace of counting.
Yeah.
But as of now, if I were to just quote the Election Commission, Barkha, quoting it, okay? That as per the Election Commission right now, 406 trends have come out. BJP leading on 195. So that's roughly less than 50%, okay? Congress is at 76. Congress at 76, but BJP less than 50% of the leads that have been declared by the Election Commission so far. If that is anything to go by as of now, that's the best proxy that we have, Sadanand.
Yes, but Sadanand, again to explain, the EC counts very slowly. So all of this is, stuff that could change. Now, I'm just going to go through everything we have on our screen. Gujarat, the NDA. Slow down. Let me go state at a time. Assam, the BJP. Okay, Gujarat. The NDA is leading in 23. You have to match my speed. I need to go back to Gujarat. Can we go back to Gujarat? Okay, we'll wait for them to try and bring up Gujarat. Just stay on it. I'll let you know when to change the slide. It's 23 leads for the NDA, 3 for India. This in itself is interesting because one was expecting, the polls had predicted a 0-0 and nothing for the India Alliance. The AAP and the Congress are in alliance in Gujarat. So that's going to be an interesting state to watch out for. We can change the slide now and look at the next. We can look at the next state. Chhattisgarh, the BJP is leading in 7 to the Congress is 3. Late last night, Bhupesh Baghel, the former chief minister, alleged irregularities that the Election Commission disputed. This is what the numbers look like. Let's take a look at the next slide now. Whatever you have, let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Assam, Jharkhand. Okay, NDA 14 to India's 2. And the big picture is it's 249 to 246 nationally. So the gap is narrowing much more tightly than we anticipated. Let's get comments. Sandeep Ghosh. Again, I'll give all the health warnings. Nobody is calling the election. Nobody is saying this is a sort of trend that's going to stay necessarily. But can we at this point safely say that the exit polls got the India Alliance numbers wrong? Can we at least say that much, Sandeep?
I think they may have got it wrong, but I would still hold on, Barkha.
Okay.
Maybe I'm, being conservative, but I would hold on because I really don't have a sense of how many rounds of counting has happened so far. By which Kartikeya may be having a better sense. I don't have that.
We have leads for 534 out of 543 states. I don't know how many rounds, but these are leads. Yeah.
So
I don't know how many rounds. Yeah.
Sadanand was mentioning something about 2014, 2019. I don't have such a sharp memory, but I don't think at this point in time, which is about 9:45, whether we had a very clear indication so far. So I would probably wait till about 11 o'clock before taking a call on that. But certainly it's not a washout for India, as some of us reading the exit polls were thinking. But the UP is the most interesting one because I don't see, if they're showing 32 leads for SP, it's going to fall dramatically, or the overall, the equation is going to change there dramatically. And that is, for me, a very, very interesting state to observe.
But Barkha,
So-
one thing the exit polls have gotten right is the Bengal, Odisha, Andhra, the eastern seaboard basically. That I think is something that they've gotten right. But it's you're right. I think it's the India NDA contests where probably it's a little up in the air still.
Yeah. So let's take a closer look at Uttar Pradesh, because that's where actually, if the East is the story for the BJP, Uttar Pradesh seems to be at the moment the story for the India Alliance. Can we please change our slides to Uttar Pradesh? I want to look at the latest numbers from Uttar Pradesh. And in the meantime, Smita, you said you traveled extensively. By the way, it's now absolutely neck and neck in the national picture. It's 260 to 260. Dilip Cherian, welcome to the program. Good morning. But in Uttar Pradesh, the India Alliance is leading. So I was trying to make the point that if the East is the big dramatic story for the BJP, Uttar Pradesh, the Hindi heartland, the place where the Ram Mandir consecration the inauguration took place, the consecration ceremony of which was presided over by the Prime Minister. Going by these leads at this hour, the India Alliance is ahead of the NDA in Uttar Pradesh, and there's a dead heat nationally, 260 to 260. Smita Gupta, I'll start with you. We've always said, I've said in all my travels, that the Ram Mandir was not an election issue. But here we are seeing something even more distinct taking place, which is the attempt by, let's say, an Akhilesh Yadav to stitch social alliances beyond Muslim Yadavs, to give tickets to non-Yadav OBCs, to focus on localized issues of unemployment, of jobs, of Agnipath. If these trends hold, that has worked for the SP and the Congress. If these trends hold, I'm qualifying that. Smita Gupta, go ahead. Can we unmute Smita, please? Ma'am, if you're muted at your end, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if these trends hold, one begins with that caveat. But what I saw was for the first time that the India Alliance's narrative was resonating on the ground. The issues that they had taken up were actually being spoken of on the ground. And this was being acknowledged even by people who were seen to be close to the BJP. Number two, among the upper castes, among the Brahmins and the Rajputs, as we know, had 5 big caste sammelans in the western part of the state where they denounced the BJP. But there was disquiet amongst them as well as among Brahmins that perhaps, too much attention is being paid by the BJP to the other backward castes. Which is the way which is actually the secret of the success of the BJP since Mr. Modi came back. So there was that great disquiet. You could hear people talking about it. There was also rumors right across the state about that if the BJP were to come back with a thumping majority, Mr. Modi would replace Mr. Yogi Adityanath with a backward caste chief minister. And this was being repeated at, every tea shop, every, town, every village, by people. And the odd thing is that Yogi Adityanath himself is popular. But as I said before, this was the first time that I actually heard.
Yeah, but I just want to give the qualification, Karthik, the qualification that other agencies are counting differently, and the gap is wider than the C Voter ABP feed on the numbers. Karthik, can you give us a sense of the comparison?
Before I do that, Barkha, Sadanand, I think from one source I now have the numbers. BJP 245, Congress 97. This is the India Today feed. And so there are 3 different sources that we are looking at right now. So ABP is showing 270 to 250 for NDA. NDTV and India Today are roughly at the same point where it's roughly 290, 295 to 210 to 220. But the India Today feed is also giving me the Congress and BJP numbers. The BJP numbers are 245 and they have but their leads are out for 540 seats. So BJP 245, Congress 97. Barkha, as I said, both those benchmarks, 272 and 100 for the Congress, are being tested in this election.
But Karthik, the Congress argument was that if the Congress could win 90 seats, it could pull the BJP down below 270. You are saying neither is, yeah.
that was conditional on the BJP also being checked in states like Bengal and Maharashtra, and not sweeping the state of Odisha like they seem to be. But even after that, it seems that the damage is enough for the BJP to be hovering around 250.
Okay,
So
but a lot of people, a lot of people are going to ask the fundamental question that Sadanand asked. We have three very different scenarios. Is there anything in common that we can say at this point on the numbers, right? Because the other agencies are giving the NDA a bigger lead, and even as we're speaking, that lead has changed for us. 280. That's why I'm saying we've got to wait. We can't draw any conclusions right now. We've got to wait. It's 280 seats for the NDA and the India Alliance 240. That's why the only question I'm asking right now is, has the India Alliance done better than the exit poll said? That's the only question that I think one can frame reasonably. Nothing else about the outcome.
As per now, absolutely yes. I would say the reason is that none of the exit polls gave the India Alliance anything above 170, which was C voter, by the way, 180 or anything above that. But here, as of this point, Barkha, and again qualification, the India Alliance is comfortably above the 200 mark. This could change. But even as we speak, those numbers from the other feeds are also changing. There now the NDA is 289 to the India's 220 and others is 31. So I will again say, Barkha, for the Congress that 100 point and for the BJP the 272 point, both are being tested. Both are being tested at this point. So
this is Karthik, I'm going to request you to hop off and help us update our numbers, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Dilip Cherian, welcome to the program. Karam Kombi Reddy, I have a question for you. We have seen disquiet, anger from the Congress. In fact, early morning, we have Dr. Shama Mohammed, and she was talking about the election not being free and fair, and I kept arguing that point with her. The point is, if this performance for the India Alliance holds, were you wrong to question the electoral process? Were you wrong to question the wisdom? You can't say if we do well, the election is fair. If we don't do well, the election is unfair. There's a contradiction there, right?
Barkha, well, I must say that from the India Alliance standpoint, I think this is spectacular, given that I can see it on your screen, India 230 and NDA 290. I think this election has definitely passed the freeness test, but it has not passed the fairness test, regardless of what the result is. We must take into account that the Election Commission did not do its duty well. We saw how the Prime Minister spoke. He was not reprimanded. There was no notice issued to him. We've seen how Chief Minister after Chief Minister was picked up by the enforcement agencies. We had Hemant Soren, who was picked up in January. Then we had Arvind Kejriwal, who was arrested when the model code of conduct was there. So I think this election, regardless of what the outcome is, has not passed the fairness test. In fact, the NDA government, the Modi's government, has gone to the extent of overturning the Supreme Court judgment to remove the Chief Justice from the panel of the selection committee, which picks the election commissioners. And we've seen how hastily 2 election commissioners were appointed by the BJP government just 24 hours before the matter was listed in the Supreme Court. So regardless of what the result is, I think this election, the fairness test, this election has not been fair at all.
Okay. You say it's not passed the fairness test. It hasn't been fair, but it's been free. And you draw a distinction between those two nomenclatures. We'll look at that in a moment. Dilip, any first thoughts? Again, lots of qualifications here. It's not even 10 o'clock in the morning, right? But the election is much tighter than the exit poll suggested. The India Alliance is leading in 224, but the lead has now widened. Sadanand, this would interest you. It's widened significantly. The NDA is now leading in 294 seats. But the big question is, will the BJP hit 272 on its own? Will the Congress hit 90 on its own? Those two benchmarks we're studying closely. The ECI has some split data, but it's not updated. Dilip, first thoughts?
I would say, Barkha, that the most important assessment we have to make is that all the people who are rooting for a massive success for the NDA are loudly screaming, wait for 11 o'clock. So this means that the early numbers are discomfiting to them. So there is causing some level of anxiety. Are these unexpected? I would say they are highly unexpected so far. And while we may recognize, and we need to recognize, that it is only 10 in the morning and that EVM counting has just about begun, the numbers are likely to change. And I love the note of caution that you are repeating every minute. It is necessary as our viewers make their assessments. The market seems to have made an assessment in terms of stock markets. The way that is declining seems to indicate that the market is uncomfortable with the fact that early wins don't seem to be in the direction that the exit polls had promised. So I'm not here to cast aspersions on the exit polls. I'm not here to be part of any cheering brigade for any group. But what I do want to say is that it looks like that those rooting for a massive and instantaneous NDA lead, which could not be touched, are screaming, saying, be patient, let's wait for 11 o'clock. And I think that is an early indication of the fact that there seem to be trends which are not comfortable and do not fit in with the narrative we had
And
for the last week.
And that is why we are waiting, but the NDA has breached the 300 mark. We do need to take note of that. The gap that seemed close is widening. Even so, at the moment, the India Alliance is doing much better than anybody had projected. Karthik, before I take a last comment from Sunita, do you have a latest figure from Uttar Pradesh? I'd love to look at how UP is doing. But go ahead, Karthik.
No, UP is still 42 to India, NDA 37 as per the source that we are following, Barkha. But let me just say, in the last 5 to 7 minutes, all sources have converged more or less, with of course a margin of plus minus 10 seats, right? So we are reporting 300 to 221. A parallel source is reporting 290 to 220, and another source indeed is reporting 306 to 206. So within a band of plus minus 10 seats, I think we are all now converging, where the gap between India and NDA seems to be roughly 80 to 100 seats. The BJP does not seem to be crossing 272 as per now on its own. And Congress is touching that, is in that 90 to 100 zone as of now.
Okay, lots of as of nows there, and I think we have to hold on to those as of nows, as Dilip said. It's still an hour to go, I think, before we have a fuller picture. Picture abhi baki hai. Okay, Sunita, but Uttar Pradesh at the moment, the India Alliance, that's the big story for the India Alliance. Where has the opposition really held its own? It's in UP, and that's very ironic.
Can I just add? Sorry, Sunita ma'am. Trinamool is pulling ahead now in Bengal. That's a big story, because for the longest time the BJP was ahead in Bengal. Trinamool is now retaining, or kind of now in the same zone as 2019. So it's now back to 22 Trinamool, 17 BJP, 3 INC plus left. It's a mirror image of what happened in 2019. So that is another big story that has developed in the last few minutes. Sorry for the interruption, but I thought it was...
No. Sunita, do go ahead. The UP numbers are on the screen. It's still, despite the NDA hitting 300, the SP and its allies, the Congress, are ahead of the NDA in Uttar Pradesh. Sunita, before we let you go, a last thought? I can't hear Sunita. Someone has to unmute her, please. Could we unmute? Yeah. We can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the 3 quick statements that exit polls never match the ground realities. One, I'm not talking about issues and all that stuff. The politics of UP is going to change now, hence, because the coming days we'll see a lot of activities, because the numbers may change, but they will not reverse completely. So, I'll end here.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, that the numbers may change, but they will not reverse completely. Smita Gupta, would you like to add to that? The numbers are changing, and in some cases they are reversing. For example, Delhi, where it seemed split, the BJP is back to leading in 6. But in Bengal, as Karthike mentioned, the Trinamool is now ahead of the BJP at 22, pretty close to its performance in 2019. I do want to bring in Smita Gupta. Karthik, do you have a quick update?
Barkha, let's not discount how the Congress is putting up a spirited performance in the key heartland states of Rajasthan and Haryana, where now it's neck and neck. These were the 2 states that held potential for the Congress, and they seem to be doing a decent job. Although Karnataka would be still disappointing because as of the latest leads, it's 6-22. But they are seeing green shoots in states like Rajasthan and Haryana. And I think that is what has made the BJP's path difficult is these strikes by the Congress in the Hindi heartland states. And contrary to the exit polls, so far, Bengal is not being swept by the BJP. Odisha is. So Odisha is giving them that buffer. So is Andhra to some extent. But no new ground. Whereas in states like UP, SP Congress denting them. In states like Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Haryana, Rajasthan, Congress putting up spirited performances as of now.
Okay, we do have first comments coming in from the Congress. Jairam Ramesh has responded. I'll play that out in just a minute. Ashwini Shahi, senior leader of the BJP, is with us. Namaskar. Karam, I'm going to let you have a last comment before we say goodbye to you. In the meantime, the leads are coming in many states. They're changing. The BJP is now leading in 6 seats in Delhi to the AAP Congress Alliance, which is leading only in 1. In Karnataka, the NDA is leading in 22 to the Congress's 6. In Kerala, the NDA could be opening its account in 1 seat. The UDF is leading in 16. That's the Congress and its allies. The left only in 3. In the overall picture, the NDA is now ahead of the India Alliance, no longer in dead heat. But in Uttar Pradesh, you do have the India Alliance ahead as of now of the NDA. Karam, last thoughts before we let you go?
Well, all I can say is I think the India Alliance has done spectacularly well, because we must take into account the fact that we fought this election in a very hostile environment. The Election Commission was not with us. The media, I mean, the mainstream media by and large has acted as a propaganda machine of the government. And having taken all these factors into account, and it was the media, the enforcement agencies, the Election Commission, which is considered to be an autonomous constitutional body. I mean, these were all hostile conditions, hostile environment. Yet, I think this is a remarkable performance. And I think I've said earlier, this election may have passed the freeness test, but it has definitely not passed the fairness test. And I think this is a victory for democracy as well, because in a state like UP, where the Ram Mandir was inaugurated, the people really did not vote for the Ram Mandir. There was no, I mean, the Prime Minister concentrated his entire campaign not on developmental issues, not on issues like poverty, not on issues like unemployment, not on issues of governance, but he just took recourse to Hindu Muslims. He resorted to things like Mangal Sutra. He addressed his own countrymen, the Muslims, as infiltrators, as people with many children. I mean, in the history of this country, 77 years history of this country, I think no prime minister in the past has ever used this kind of language. Yet, the Election Commission does not come in, does not reprimand him, does not send him a notice. And I think this is the first time in the history of this country that the Election Commission has not held a single press conference. It has held a press conference on the 16th of March, and thereafter it held a press conference a couple of days ago. The normal convention, the routine is that the Election Commission holds a press conference every day. It takes questions.
But Karam, despite all of this angst that you have just listed, the fact is that the India Alliance has done much better. Much better. I'm going to play out. I'm going to say thank you to you. Smita, you have a last comment. I'll say thank you to you right after that. Smita, yeah.
Yeah. If these results hold in Uttar Pradesh, then BJP will have to do a lot of rethinking about how it has, so far successfully managed to keep the upper caste as well as the backward castes. Because this was the problem with Kalyan Singh also. If you look back 10 years back, when Kalyan Singh was ousted by the Brahmins and the Rajputs, and the party collapsed till 2014. And it was only when Mr. Modi was able to bring back the backwards into the party that the BJP flowered again. Number 2, the BSP has collapsed. What does this mean for the future of Uttar Pradesh? And the third is, of course, how the Samajwadi Party and the Congress Party, will they be able to, in the future, work together? I think there are a lot of interesting, there's going to be a big churn in the politics of Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, Smita, we'll let you go. Jairam Ramesh is already claiming a moral victory for the India Alliance. I'm going to play out the first reactions that we are getting. Remember, if you've just joined us, while the NDA is ahead of the India Alliance, the fight, at least at 10 in the morning, seems much more competitive than any exit poll had projected. In Uttar Pradesh, in the Hindi-speaking heartland, the SP and Congress are actually ahead of the NDA. In Maharashtra, it's a very, very confusing picture because neither the NDA nor the India Alliance would have been prepared for the fact that others are ahead in 21 seats. So it's a completely fractured sort of result there. We are still not calling this one way or the other at all because we're waiting for more rounds to be counted. But let's play for you Jairam Ramesh's first. Okay, hang on, Karthik, what?
Barkha, Maharashtra from another source. I think this others, I don't know how the AVP feed is reporting. Maharashtra, as per the other source, is 25 to NDA, 20 to the India Alliance.
Okay.
So this is like neck and neck in a way. I would say not neck and neck. NDA slightly ahead. Yeah. But no,
Okay.
this is as per the India Today feed. The ABP feed is still giving others this big chunk. We don't know what this others is. So our banner is correct. But I'm just clarifying this from another source for you.
Okay, the gap has slightly widened now between the NDA and the India Alliance. It's 304 to 218. We are going to see this ball-by-ball commentary. I'm sorry, I know we aren't able to get into any substantive conversation about issues, but the issues we have to discuss will also depend on where the numbers finally settle. So I urge or I thank you for your patience. I just want to play out. No, now you have to wait. I have to play Jairam Ramesh's first response. Otherwise, this is what we'll be doing for the rest of the hour. Jairam Ramesh claiming moral victory for the India Alliance. Take a look.
ये रुझान दिखाता है कि निवर्तमान भूतपूर्व बनने वाले हैं। ये उनकी नैतिक हार है और राजनीतिक हार है, दोनों राजनीतिक हार और प्रचंड नैतिक हार। ये पहले कभी नहीं हुआ है कि प्रधानमंत्री खुद अपने ही सीट में पीछे चल रहे हैं। ये तो ट्रेलर है, जो नतीजे दिखाई दे रहे हैं। वाराणसी में प्रधानमंत्री कह रहे थे ट्रेलर ट्रेलर ट्रेलर, तो आज उनके ट्रेलर दिखाई दे रहा है।
So Jairam Ramesh is, of course, quoting from the Election Commission data. I don't know, Karthik, if you had a chance to look at it, which is slow and suggested that the Prime Minister is trailing in his own seat. He's already claiming that the Prime Minister is going to be a former Prime Minister. Akshay Marathi of the Aam Aadmi Party is with us. Ashwini Shahi of the BJP is with us. Sadanand Dhume and Dilip Cherian are with us. I want to open up the conversation now, Karthik, unless you have a very dramatic update. You've got to hold for a bit.
Summarize one statement, Barkha, that I think all of us were watching the swing states in Maharashtra, Karnataka, at least I was Bengal, Bihar. But what seems to be hurting the BJP is its bastion of the Hindi heartland. I think that's the biggest takeaway so far.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in the east is the story for the BJP, at least the state of Orissa, and a neck-and-neck battle in Bengal. The Hindi heartland, Ashwini ji, aapka Pradesh, उत्तर प्रदेश, जहां पे अभी के वक्त इंडिया अलायंस का गठबंधन आगे है, जहां पे राम मंदिर का उद्घाटन हुआ, जहां पे हिंदुत्व पॉलिटिक्स एक तरह से एक एपिसेंटर है, वहां वो इन रुझान के मुताबिक इट हैजंट वर्कड।
बरखा जी देखिए, अभी फिलहाल जो है शुरुआती रुझान है और आपको उत्तर प्रदेश के बारे में बता दें, यहाँ पर अभी जो भी मामला चल रहा है वो बैलेट जो है पोस्टल बैलेट का ही मामला शुरू में चला है ज्यादा। अब मुझे लग रहा है कि जो रुझान आ रहे हैं थोड़ी देर में ये रुझान बदलेंगे, क्योंकि थोड़ा स्लो मामला चल रहा है। अभी मुझे सूचना 5 मिनट पहले जो मिली है कि ये रुझान जो भी आए हैं कोई भी मामला, और जो जयराम रमेश जी बोल रहे हैं, जयराम रमेश जी, ये साबुन का झाग होता है ना, सर्फ और साबुन का झाग, वो बुलबुला जो निकलता है उस बुलबुले की तरह है, थोड़ी देर में अपने आप फूट जाएंगे। तो इनका जो बुलबुला फूटने दीजिए, थोड़ी देर इंतजार करते हैं, 12 बजे तक सारी चीजें कंफर्म हो जाएंगी, उत्तर प्रदेश की स्थितियां बदलेंगी। और अभी जो ये दिख रहा है ये तो कतई नहीं रहने वाला है। बहुत जो हम लोगों ने किया था वो पिछले बार 19 में, उससे बेहतर हम लोग करने जा रहे हैं। अभी थोड़ी देर इंतजार हम लोग करें, हम लोग आज दिन भर जुड़े ही हैं, लेकिन उत्तर प्रदेश से आपको अच्छी सूचना मिलेगी। और संवैधानिक रूप से 272 पर ही सरकार बनती है, लेकिन अब जयराम रमेश जी किस तरीके की बात कर रहे हैं, निवर्तमान और क्या क्या, जयराम रमेश जी को भी सोचना चाहिए। पुराने जो है राजनीतिज्ञ हैं, थोड़ा सा चीजों को, संविधान बदलने की बात वो लोग करते हैं कि भाई हम बदल देंगे, लेकिन अभी तो फिलहाल वही बदल रहे हैं। कि संवैधानिक रूप से 272 कोई जुटला रहे हैं, आपके यहाँ आंकड़े 300 के आसपास चल रहे हैं एनडीए के, तो 272 पर सरकार बनती है। अभी देखते हैं क्या होता है 2 घंटे बाद स्थितियां जो जीत की, क्योंकि आज जब शुरुआत हुई है तो हम एक से शुरू किए हैं, सूरत की सीट से हमने शुरू कर दिया है, हमारा उद्घाटन हो चुका है और ये अभी कारवां कहाँ जाकर रुकेगा न जयराम रमेश जी को पता है, ना आपको ना हमको। जी,
पर आप इतना कंसीड करेंगे कि ऑपोजिशन, यूपी की बात कर रही हूँ, यूपी में जो ऑपोजिशन है उनकी परफॉर्मेंस इन रुझान के मुताबिक कहीं बेहतर रही है फ्रॉम व्हाट वाज एक्सपेक्टेड और व्हाट वाज प्रोजेक्टेड?
हाँ, अभी अब जो रुझान ये अभी दिख रहा है इसमें तो मुझे लग रहा है कि उन लोगों ने अच्छा किया है, क्योंकि 43 और 39 आप दिखा रही हैं, तो ये उनका जो बहुत अच्छा है। मगर ये चीजें अभी देखिएगा, ये 42 और जो है वो कहाँ आकर नीचे गिरता है, 15 पर आता है, 12 पर आता है, 9 पर आता है, कहाँ आता है, ये देखने वाली चीज है। मगर फिलहाल जो आंकड़े आपको दिखा रही हैं तो इसमें तो बेहतर ही किया है उन्होंने, उसमें कोई कहने वाली कोई बात नहीं है। और ये बता दूं, ये एक चीज बता दूं कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी फिलहाल आगे चल रहे हैं, जयराम रमेश जी को अपने आंकड़े सही कर लेने चाहिए।
Okay, yes, we also just checked, Karthik just checked the Election Commission website. The Prime Minister is not trailing in his seat any longer. That was an early morning update. Sadanand, do go ahead, Sadanand.
The fact that the Prime Minister was trailing in Varanasi should be, you should look at it not as proof that things are tilting in one direction or the other, but to my mind, proof that this is still very premature. Because it's highly unlikely that he's going to be losing in Varanasi.
Absolutely. That's what we said.
That's all.
Absolutely.
And then I'm just looking at the figures on the screen right now. Now you've got NDA 315 and India 207. So now you've got, a more than 100 seat lead opening up. So it's sort of, at the risk of being super repetitive, this roller coaster is not done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. And even Karthik, the gap between the alliances is now much larger, right? It's about 100-seat gap. Yeah,
it is, Barkha. It's kind of yo-yoing, okay, around that 300 mark for NDA and around that 210 to 15 mark for India Alliance. But it has stabilized like this across 3 sources now for the last 20 odd minutes. So whatever action you will see now, I think will be in this range, unless something dramatic happens in the next few hours or so. But I must say that in the 2 swing states, Bihar and Karnataka, the BJP seems to have checked its losses, because in Karnataka it's 22-6, in Bihar it's 36-4. So I think that should be a very good performance for the NDA, given that they were staring at some losses there. Bengal, as I said, Trinamool is catching up. And now, what is surprising for me, Barkha, in Bengal is Congress plus left has 4 leads. I mean, I can count 2. I don't know where the other 2 are coming from in Bengal for the Congress plus left. Rajasthan, the Congress has made a match of it. It's fantastic, I think, from their perspective. It's 13-12 right now. Haryana, I think we all knew would be competitive. It is going in that direction. Goa is 1-1. Again, we knew this would be the case. Uttar Pradesh right now on my screen is 40-39. So it's dead heat again. Maharashtra, it's still not clear from the source that we are following. But see, even in states like Madhya Pradesh, Congress is leading on 2 seats.
Yeah, I think one is Digvijay Singh. I don't know which is the other seat.
I think the
Chhindwara.
Not the seat that they are leading on, because last I checked, they were trailing on Chhindwara. That might be the case. But in Madhya Pradesh, they were in contest in only 7 to 8 seats. So if they're leading on 2 as of now, then that means that something has happened. Gujarat, they have been leading on at least 1 seat since morning. And if they're opening their account in Gujarat, that is no less than dramatic. Akshay will sort of...
and the other thing before I get Akshay in is Rajasthan. The exit polls, if this holds, the exit polls were wrong about Rajasthan, because at the moment there's just a 1-seat difference between the NDA and the India Alliance. But again, everything is changing so very quickly that we have to just wait. Let's try and step back. Akshay Marathe hasn't spoken yet. Akshay, Delhi looked like it could have been better, but at the moment it's back to a very dominant position for the BJP, leading in 6 seats to 1 for your alliance. Go ahead with your early comments, both on Delhi and the national picture.
First of all, let me open by saying that just 2 days ago, when we were talking about the exit polls, I was very confidently telling you that these exit polls are wrong, and I'm very happy to come here and say that even if they might not be as wrong as I would have hoped, they're at least wrong to enough of an extent that we are having to debate these numbers today. It's almost 10:30. And who would have thought that on this day, after the exit polls had predicted 400 par, especially somebody like India Today, My Access, C Voter, some of these very credible polling agencies. So that's a big takeaway, I think, that we should all look at and understand why that might have happened. So having said that, to go into the actual figures, from my perspective, where I'm sitting, Aam Aadmi Party had just one seat in the Lok Sabha in 2019. We had won the Sangrur seat, which Bhagwant Mann had won. And then eventually we also ended up losing that one seat. So we were actually starting from zero. And today in Punjab, we are now leading on 4 seats by a pretty sizable margin. It's unlikely that we will lose on any of those 4. And even the others where we are not in the lead right now, it's a close contest on a couple of seats at least, if not all. So I'm hopeful that we will enter the Lok Sabha in 2024, Aam Aadmi Party, as a much bigger player than we were in the past, which is positive from an Aam Aadmi Party perspective, but also positive from an India Alliance perspective. Because if you look at the Haryana seats where the alliance is doing well, one of those seats is Kurukshetra, where our candidate Dr. Sushil Gupta is leading. And quickly, let me give a shout out to Dr. Sushil Gupta. He was a Rajya Sabha MP of the party. He was not repeated in January when the Delhi seats were going into for re-election. And he has fought a very hard battle there against Naveen Jindal. And I'm very happy to hear that he's consistently leading since morning. Similarly, like Kartikeya was saying, in Gujarat, there is one seat in Bharuch where the Aam Aadmi Party has led for many rounds. I'm hopeful that that lead continues. Chetar Vasawa, he's a tribal leader, very tall tribal leader by the BJP's making, ironically, because they arrested Chetar Vasawa just few months before the election and made him the focal point of the tribal vote in Gujarat. And I think that he's reaping the benefits of the BJP's own doing. So I'm looking at these numbers very positively.
Okay, but I should say that as Ashwini Shahi was saying that the numbers will change in real time, the Uttar Pradesh numbers have in fact changed. It's now the BJP that is back in the lead. The BJP is leading in 45 seats. The India Alliance has now fallen back to 34. So this kind of 1 seat up, 2 seats down, 1 seat up, 2 seats down is going to continue for at least another hour. Yet it is well ahead, Dilip Cherry and Sadanand Dhume, of the 15 to 17 that were projected by the exit polls for the opposition parties. But it's changing. Ashwini Shahi says, Rukiye. What do you say?
Sense is that we should look at the saddest state of all, which is Manipur, where I noticed from your figures that the Congress is leading. For me, if there are standout states, we should look for where there have been issues which never really occupied mainstream attention during the elections and in the run-up to elections. And I think the second thing that, Barkha, we would do wisely as people who are being watched by a very large audience of discerning viewers is looking at how the EVM percentages are in terms of counting, what percentage of votes have been shown as counted. So those leads are very important. And as we look at the Election Commission figures, I think your colleague has some figures, and we need to understand that what is being projected as 11 o'clock by those disappointed by the current figures is probably going to be 10:30 because of the speed at which counting happens when you have EVMs.
Okay, we have some key constituencies coming in. Raj Babbar of the Congress leading in Haryana. The Congress overall doing expectedly well in Haryana. Karthik, go ahead. Yes.
Barkha, this is huge. This I don't think anybody expected, because this was one of the safest seats for the BJP in Haryana.
Oh, you're talking about Gurugram. You're talking about Gurugram. Yes.
If you ask somebody which are the seats the Congress would win in Haryana, they would start with Sonipat and Rohtak and Sirsa. They would then probably wager Hisar or Bhiwani Mahendragarh. Gurgaon would have been the last on everybody's list. And if this holds, this does not augur well for the BJP for the assembly elections as well. And Akshay is right in that Kurukshetra, last I heard Naveen Jindal ji is trailing. My guess is they're probably leading in Karnal, the BJP. It's been a safe seat for them. But I think this is big. I mean, if in certain states, you gauge the mood by the safest possible seat. And in Haryana, Gurugram would be that for the BJP. And if that is swinging, and again, I'm saying if, because this is still conditional, right? Then, this, I think this means the Congress has put up a very good fight in Haryana.
Okay, I can see Priyanka Chaturvedi joining us. Priyanka Chaturvedi is a leader of the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray. And Priyanka, welcome to the broadcast. It's a confusing situation right now. In Uttar Pradesh, we have the NDA now moving ahead of the India Alliance, which was in the lead till just 10 minutes ago. We have leads from Jharkhand as well. We have leads from almost all of the states now. Can we look at the national picture and the Maharashtra picture before I get Priyanka to come in with her first responses? Priyanka, I'm sure you've been following all of the leads that are coming in. Do go ahead with your first thoughts.
My first thought would be that Bharatiya Janata Party, for all its big talk and for whatever caste alliances, stitching up alliances, and coming up with an NDA which is going to go beyond 400, and BJP in itself at 370, has been halted. People of this country see through propaganda. People of this country have realized, in terms of on-ground impact of what Mr. Modi was promising vis-a-vis what he has been putting up as a narrative, has not really percolated on the ground. So we are seeing that happen. The opposition has put up a fight. As far as I can see in Maharashtra, Maharashtra is actually the state where we saw a lot of churning happening, where BJP tried to break two regional parties, where it tried to consolidate its vote share, where it tried to control the state narrative, and is now seeing, the result of that kind of behavior. And I would say that these are early trends, but moving on, Mahavikas Aghadi above 32 to 35 seats is something that I see happening by the end of the day. And in terms of opposition as an alliance, we as much as we were written off in the exit polls and a lot of things were spoken, we had a lot of election analysts and those who were giving these numbers also totally rubbish the opposition, including sometimes the arrogance coming from the Election Commission. I think it shows a different narrative.
Yeah. You said the BJP has been halted. Are you saying right now that you don't believe that it will be a Modi government 3.0? Do you believe that the India Alliance, because there's still a 100-seat gap between the two alliances at the moment, right, Priyanka?
Right.
Of course, we have to wait to see for an hour where these numbers finally settle. But both sides are making that argument. Do you believe or do you think realistically that you are within striking distance of being in the game to form the government? Or when you say the BJP has been halted, what you actually mean is that the opposition has shown that there's fight in the system. The BJP has been contained, if not stopped. Which one are you saying?
Well, what I'm actually saying is, whatever the outcome might be, the people of this country have spoken very impactfully. People of this country do not believe in power being concentrated in the hands of one person who started to believe he was a reincarnation of God, who started to believe he's non-biological and he's God's gift to mankind. And that is the most powerful message coming out of what we are seeing in the trends. What happens ultimately, whether BJP comes with a lesser power than it envisaged, whether it comes to 272, fighting to be at 280, less than 300, above 300, and our alliance picking up in other states, is something that I would leave to whatever the trends show and the voters have chosen. But I think the biggest message is that you do not underestimate the voter. You do not think that your media narrative and the pumping in of money and undermining constitution, undermining democratic principles, undermining agencies can lead you to some big impactful changes in the nation. And I think that is the biggest message that has come out of what we are seeing in terms of numbers. So it is extremely encouraging that on one hand, we thought we are moving towards a path of, some new idea of how constitution should be, to a path where people say that, listen, we give you the power, but we also give you the responsibility.
अश्विनी शाही, क्या आप ये तो कंसीड करेंगे कि एक जो जिसको मोदी जी के बारे में जगरनॉट The word used was juggernaut. वो juggernaut को प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी कहती है रोका गया है, उसकी स्पीड कम की गई है. कम से कम इतना तो कह सकते हैं कि एक्सेलरेट नहीं किए करने दिया आपकी पार्टी को, आपके नेताओं को.
बरखा जी देखिए, अभी जो रिजल्ट दिखा रहे हैं, जो रुझान दिखा रहा है, इसमें कहने में कोई जो है बुराई नहीं है कि मतलब इसमें जो है हमको रोक दिया गया है इसको. लेकिन फिलहाल देखिए, अभी 11 साढ़े 10 बज रहा है. 12 बजे तक हम लोगों को कुछ भी कहना वो नहीं है कि कौन कितना कम होगा, कौन कितना बढ़ेगा. ये कांग्रेस प्लस भी बढ़ सकती है, बीजेपी प्लस भी बढ़ सकती है, मतलब इंडिया अलायंस और एनडीए दोनों में कोई भी बढ़ सकता है. मगर 12 बजे के बाद जो आंकड़े आएंगे उस पर हम लोग ज्यादा मजबूती से बात कर सकते हैं. लेकिन देखिए, अभी उत्तर प्रदेश में मैंने जो कहा, आंकड़े कितनी तेजी से बदल रहे हैं. जब से मैं बैठा हूं 15 मिनट 20 मिनट हुआ, 20 मिनट में आंकड़े बदले हैं, क्योंकि वहां पर हमको पता है कहां पर कैसे इलेक्शन हुआ है. हाँ, अभी तक के रुझान को देखते हुए ये लग रहा है कि रोका गया है और विपक्ष ने भी चुनाव अच्छी तरीके से लड़ा है. ये अभी तक के आंकड़े बता रहे हैं, इसमें कहने में कोई गुरेज नहीं है. मगर हमको 1 घंटे इंतजार करना होगा बरखा जी.
Gee, fair enough. Priyanka, I have one question that I've been asking opposition leaders. You know, opposition leaders have been talking about it not being a level playing field. I was arguing with Akshay also about it. And I said there's a difference between saying we don't have a level playing field and difference between saying it's not a free and fair election. Would you concede that given how, in a way, hard fought the election clearly has been by these leads? It's a hard fought election. It's a spirited fight by the opposition, no matter who forms the government. Would you concede that calling it an non-free and fair election was wrong for the opposition leaders who did so?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would again reiterate the fact that despite it not being a level playing field, it was the opposition and the people of this country who have fought this fight and who know. And I tell you, people keep reminding us of the emergency era. It was the emergency era which taught the people and which explained to the people why democracy is important in this nation. So despite it not being a level playing field, despite an overwhelming electoral bonds being received by the Bharatiya Janata Party, despite media attention being solely on the Bharatiya Janata Party, despite, I hate to say it as much as it's the day for the Election Commission of India, but Election Commissioner coming forward and coming out with his shairis and mocking the opposition, then coming out the exit polls and those who are, carrying out these exit polls, coming forward and making a mockery of the opposition. People watch that. Undermining the people of this country and the will of this nation and the very ethos of what India is about. Cultural history, democratic history, constitutional history. Has that been of being democratic? And that is what the people have fought. And the numbers are clearly showing